Can apply for your WA student assistance payment. It's $150 for kindergarten and primary school kids, $250 for high school kids. So it's a really important opportunity for people to get a little bit of cost of living relief, and we want it to get to as many families as possible. We've had great success so far. As of 9 a.m. this morning, claims have been submitted for 84% of WA students. So that is 84% of eligible families have applied for their WA student assistance payment. And that includes over 71% of families living in regional WA. That's over 292,000 claims for over 429,000 students. And that compares to just 80% last year at the end of 2024. So pleasing result. But I just want to remind all families, now is the time. You've got another 24 hours or so. Please just take the opportunity to get online, get onto the WA Service app and get your WA student assistance payment. And any questions?
Just on the assistance payment, how is anything under 100% not a failure given it's free money?
Well, I mean, it depends on whose failure you attribute it to. I mean, the government makes this money available. 80% of people applied for it last time, 84% this time. Now, obviously, there's some people who would decide that they don't need the money and they won't make the application. There'll be others, of course, who struggle to access these sort of processes. And that's why we've done so much work to ensure that we've got more people can have access to it. And the reason why we've been promoting it, particularly in the Kimberley, we've had our kiosks that have helped over 360 families access their payments. And of course, we continue to make sure that we do everything we can to ensure that people are aware of it, including asking the principals a fortnight ago to really just highlight this for WA families. Well, we're not forcing the money on people, but it's there if those want it. Yeah, well, look, it's incredibly sad to hear of the passing of Arlene Bond. Sorry, let me start that again. It's incredibly sad to hear of the passing of Arlene Bond. Red, as she was known to most people in the community. She was a larger-than-life figure and an important part of that period in Western Australia's history that some of us remember, and that is during the America's Cup. The Bonds were such an important family at that particular time, and my heart goes out to the whole Bond family today. As I said, Arlene was a larger-than-life figure, an incredibly over-the-top or, charismatic figure, and she'll be very badly missed.
She also seemed to transcend all that sort of troubles that we felt the family and the WA. She was never really touched by it. She always sort of seemed to float above it.
Yeah, we know that there was obviously a lot of debate around around Alan Bond and his business interests, but of course his other activities associated with chasing Yanchep or chasing the America's Cup. Some of that negative, some of it positive, but throughout all of that, Red was just always known as a positive figure and someone who transcended a lot of all that discussion.
Another sad one for very different reasons is that the Victorian Child Care Allegation, the WA ministers review
Yeah.
child care safety protocols. Can I just ask whether that will include the option of banning child care work? Is that something you would consider?
Well, look, that's not something we're considering at the moment, but I'm very pleased that the Minister, Sabine Winton, has called for this snap review of our rules and regulations. And in WA, that's the regulations are applied by the Education and Care Regulatory Unit. So we'll be working with them to understand what role they play, what rules they have in place and what further powers we can provide them to ensure we keep Western Australians safe. Can I just say, look, we hear the reports from Victoria and they are horrific. They are literally horrific. As a dad myself, and I remember during that time when my kids were in childcare, you send your kids to childcare each day, hoping and knowing and trusting that they will be safe. So I can't imagine the incredible anguish of all those families and parents in Victoria today. So we will do everything we can to ensure that Western Australia's regulations that are in place do everything we can to protect our kids. Now, I note the comments from the Federal Education Minister today that they're going to have an extra look at this. also that there's a ministerial meeting, I think in October this year, where they can further examine this as all the jurisdictions collectively. It's important that we make sure that people believe and know and can trust that when they send their kids to childcare, that those kids will be kept safe.
There is a push.
The idea of discriminating against one gender is obviously uncomfortable for a reason, but can you understand why some parents are uncomfortable with childcare work?
Well, look, I understand at the moment everyone's emotions are heightened, and that leads you to it leads everyone to a range of views and comments. Obviously, we don't want to discriminate against people just simply because of their gender. That's not who we are. But we do need to make sure that we keep our kids safe, and I'm sure the regulatory authorities will take everything into account.
There are survivors of abuse in education settings that are coming out and saying and pushing for a ban on men in childcare. Should it be considered in the WA context?
Well, I hope the review of these rules are as wide as possible. But I also hope we take the opportunity just to make sure that we do this in an appropriate, comprehensive and considered way. Jumping to conclusions or jumping to statements in the context of this incident, I would just encourage everyone. Let's just make sure that we do this properly. Well, obviously, we'll look at the whole range of regulations that are at our disposal, as well as the interaction of our rules with the federal rules as the funding body. And obviously, we already have strong checks in place. Working with children checks is one of those things, police clearances and so on. But at the end of the day, we need two things. One, for those carers to do the right thing, obviously, but two, for everyone in the system to be vigilant, to look out for behaviours or indicative behaviours which might suggest that something bad is taking place. I hope this review provides Western Australian parents with the confidence that the childcare sector in Western Australia is well regulated.
Amir, why do you need 34 staff?
Well, look, I've been completely transparent in relation to the staffing that I have in my office, and I have just 3 more staff than existed before I took over in the role of Premier. And we obviously need to make sure that we can manage the workload and be effective in carrying out government policy. Let me provide you with a couple of important points in relation to this. Since 2019, our economy has increased by 25%. We have now over 3 million people in Western Australia, the fastest growing population in the country. Since 2010, the amount of correspondence being dealt with has increased by over 50%. So we obviously need to make sure that the offices of the government are resourced effectively so we can provide effective government.
But why are so many of your staff so highly paid?
Well, look, you know, it's a tight labour market at the moment, but I obviously want to make sure I've got the best people to make sure that we deliver great government for the people of Western Australia. My team is very effective. They are very good, and they support the government to implement their policies.
You can hand on heart say that the taxpayers are getting value for money.
I know that taxpayers are getting value for money from my government. We are working hard every day of the week, making sure we focus on jobs, keeping the economy strong, on health, on housing. We've got an ambitious agenda. We want to deliver for the people of Western Australia. I need the best possible team to make that happen.
The government's got a Made in WA policy. Some of the work for the tourism campaigns going to the eastern states. Have you kicked an own goal?
Yeah, well, I saw that. That's pretty disappointing, right? And we know that in WA we've got some great production crews, and I'm sure that work could have been undertaken in Western Australia. The way this one worked is that we had contracted the brand agency to do some work as the next iteration of our Walking on a Dream campaign. They've assured us that of that production crew, 70% will be sourced from Western Australia. But I just invite them to reflect on the fact that WA has great production, great people working in the creative industries. I can't see a need to export that sort of work. Hang on, sorry, just a second.
Money, will you reverse it?
Yeah, well, look, we've already struck the contract, so I need to look at the nature of that contract. But obviously, it's disappointing.
But have you asked the brand agency to revisit that
Oh well, look, I've really only just discovered this issue today. That I've been told that 70% of the production crew are Western Australian based and Western Australian grown. I can't understand why you'd need an East Coast company to do that.
It sounds like part of the issue is that it was cheaper to get it done by the East Coast company. So worth paying a premium to have a local company.
Oh well, look, just reflect on your questions. We want Made in WA to be a reality, and it would have been good if they could have just made sure that they were part of that.
When you're on the sentencing of Rachel,
Let me go over here.
Cole Blanche said out the front that he wanted to ensure that, or wanted the government to review laws saying that because it was downgraded to manslaughter, he wanted to make sure there would be a murder charge moving forward. Is that something that you'll look at?
Well, the person in question was charged with murder, and in the process of the prosecution, the DPP made arrangements for that to be for the trial to be based upon manslaughter. I don't have insights into that process. I'm not a lawyer, but I understand that the court process is a complex one. I understand the Commissioner's views. We're all angry that Anthony Woods is not with us today. He was one of the Blue family. He was a great police officer and someone of whom we're all very proud. And it's devastating for the community and for that family in particular that this has happened. I'll continue to work with the Commissioner to take his advice on these matters. I note that the person in question was charged with murder in the first instance. The court process has taken its place.
Will you ask Tony Bennett to have a look at that, though?
Sorry, no, hang on, let's go. Sorry.
I was going to say, will you ask Tony Bennett to have a look at this?
Oh, well, look, I know Minister Booty, as the Attorney General, will continue to look at all our laws, but one person we listen to very carefully is Cole Blanche. He's the Commissioner, he's the leader of our Blue family. These men and women do an incredible job on behalf of all Western Australians. When they lose one, we all lose one. And we're angry at the fact that Anthony Woods is not one of our family today.
Are you concerned about
Oh, look, I'll leave it up to the courts to judge in relation to sentencing. It seems like a drastically short period of time, but I know they take into account the full set of circumstances.
Are you concerned about the firearm registration app? There's a lot of bottlenecks, and a lot of people, that a lot of people couldn't register. Isn't it better to have another option, paper registration, so they can at least have another pathway so no one gets stuck on this?
One of the key outcomes we're looking for out of our new firearm laws is greater convenience and ease of use by the licence holders. The last report I had, that of the 90,000 people who hold a licence, 14,000 as part of that ongoing process to renew their licences are already involved in that process. Now, it's a new system. We invite people and ask people to be patient, but this will be a better way for us to manage our gun laws.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, everyone. Cheers.